what we did today.
Yeah, we went to the 2019 Jiminar fishing seminar or expo or whatever it was.
In Forsyth County, it's a guy named Jimbo, who's a guide on Lanier, probably one of the most well-known guides on Lanier.
Yep.
Put on a fishing seminar today at the Forsyth Convention Center, north of Alpharetta, and had a lot of vendors, a couple special guests.
Yeah.
B. Lat and Mark Daniels Jr. was there. It's pretty cool, pretty inspirational.
And then he had some other local guides and two of the biggest people in the kayak fishing world that were there doing little sidebar seminars, as well as a couple collegiate anglers and high school anglers talking about their normal tournament prep and routines. Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. A lot of networking today, which was cool.
Yeah.
Got to meet a lot of cool people. Got to see. I think one of the high points today was probably listening to Brian Latimer's story
Yeah,
of the
for sure.
Lake Seminole. Pretty big. That was huge. Kind of listening to him kind of gives you a little bit of confidence going into the 2020 season.
Yep.
Because this is my first season as a co-angler, so pretty excited about about going into this, and listening to him kind of gives you that little bit of like, hey, it's not something that happens overnight, but if you've got 15 years to wait on it, then go after it and figure it out. You don't have to win it tomorrow, you don't have to win it a year from now, but give everything you got and never give up. Just keep that mentality of never quit.
Well, I don't think it. I think it was more not if you have 15 years to wait on it to happen, but if you're willing to wait 15 years for it to happen.
Yeah.
If you have that kind of desire and that kind of drive,
If you're not looking for instant gratification.
right? The fish, there's almost no instant gratification with fishing.
No.
I mean,
What I got out of the most of it was, man, just the connections, the
Yeah.
people that,
yeah,
the genuine people in the fishing industry that said, "Hey, we're willing to help you guys." Big shout out to Fish North Georgia. Those guys, if you hadn't looked them up on podcasts, listen to podcasts, please go check out Fish North Georgia. We walked up to those guys and we were just admiring their podcast equipment, to be honest with you, because that's what we want to do eventually. And we were just talking to them, and they were asking about, because we all have our Fishing for Warriors shirts on, and we're just going to tell them what we did and what we like to do, and they were like, "We got to have you on our show. What do we need to do to get you guys on our show?" And me and John were kind of like, "Is this guy for real? Does he really want us on the show?" He legit does. And just to give you guys a little heads up, Gene Jensen, Fluke Master, was just on their podcast.
Yeah.
If that gives you any indication of the quality of videos and the podcast these guys are doing, the level they're on, we're doing a YouTube live right now. Like, we're far from that level.
we're just starting.
Just starting, and these guys want us to come on their show. But I guess circling back around, what I got the most is stories.
Yeah.
Everybody has a story.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Ron Latimer,
Yeah.
MDJ, Bill Payne, everybody has a story and, and a way they came through, how they got into
The
fishing,
ranks.
how they came through.
They
what
started
they
at
did.
5.
Yeah.
They start at 5 years old, or they started at 30. They started at
Yeah.
15, or they were alcoholics, and they hit rock bottom and got into the church and found it through going to church and things of that nature. And then, or the guys that, like, us, we were in the military, coming back from deployments and things like that. And what drives everybody had a story. It was cool. Brian was like, I was a landscaper. I got tired of digging holes. I'm not going back to digging holes and digging ditches. Like, that was my thing. And I love fishing. My dad had me starting from the beginning. So everybody's got a story.
It doesn't matter with fishing. Fishing's not like football, where you've got to be going to the best training camps and all that stuff. It doesn't matter where you start. You can make it in the fishing world if you have that drive and that passion for it, no matter what. I mean, you can start, fishing, fun fishing, and then move up to local club tournaments. I've done that, did that for years. Then move up to the BFLs, fish as a co-angler, and then work your way up from there. Fish as a boater, then get into the Costas or the Bassmaster Opens, and just work your way up. It's hard work, a lot of competition. A lot of guys are really good at this, but if you want it bad enough, you'll get there.
Yeah, and then something else that kind of took me off guard at the very end of the conference, they had this high school, these people from high school coming up and talking, and I'm like, man, I'm 36 years old. I've been on 4 deployments. I was in the military for 16 years. What is this 18-year-old kid going to teach me about fishing? But I honestly, after they got done, I wish they would have had high school fishing teams when I was in high school.
Well,
to be able to start at that age. I'll be 36 next month, and I'm just now getting back serious about fishing.
Me and my brother actually started a fishing club at my high school. We were just a few years too early for the high school fishing to have taken off. We started a fishing club. It lasted about 4 months, and it just wasn't the thing to do back then. It wasn't popular. There were no tournament trails for high school anglers.
But this kid, one of the kids that were talking, was it Chaz?
Yeah, Chaz Anderson.
He was talking, and I was like, this dude's like 18 in high school and knows more about fishing than me.
He's also a guide.
Yeah.
He's been guiding on Lake Chattooga for a couple of years now,
Right.
I think.
Like, I'm sitting there, us being in the military,
Yeah.
A young private comes up and starts talking smack. You just kind of like, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
bud. Whatever.
That kid, you could tell that kid's a stick.
Yeah, but you could tell.
You could tell by the way he held himself, the professionalism of standing on the stage and talking. And they asked him a question on his 3 favorite baits, and it actually, where some people can rattle it off, it kind of stumped him a little bit, because he was like, you could just tell he loves everything.
Yeah.
And then he rattled off.
Well, and he put serious thought into it.
Oh yeah,
too.
he did. He thought about it and was like,
let my dog in. I'll be right back.
So he did put real serious thought into
Yeah.
like what he was going to answer that question with, because, I mean, I get it. My favorite, he said the number one favorite that he said is my number one favorite was shaky head. That's my number one. I'm a big shaky head guy. I don't know. I don't know why, but I mean, I do know why. I just love it. I feel like no matter what, I can find it. I can find him. I can get him with a shaky head. So when he said that, I was like, yeah, we're on to something. This kid's cool, man.
Yeah, a lot of people are like, yeah, shaky head.
Yeah. I almost always end up with a shaky head in my hand. It's not my favorite way to fish. I'm a power fisherman. I like flipping. I like
beating banks.
I like cranking. I like throwing a spinner bait. I like covering water. But it seems like every time I'm fishing, I end up with a damn shaky head in my hand. If I'm not getting bit on anything else, I'll get bit on a shaky head.
And then something else I noticed too. So at the start of the event, they had like a main stage, and then they had a guy up there talking.
Yeah.
And then after that, you broke out. So John and Cameron, when you register, when you choose your breakout sessions. So when they registered, they went to this kayak fishing thing.
Yeah.
I think it was because the girl was kind of cute. But I went to Clayton Bates, who is a guide on Eufaula. And as soon as we walked in there, the doors were shut. And he said, listen, I'm not trying to say what he does is wrong, but what he was talking about, down scanning and side image and your sensitivity and your contrast on your electronics, he said, I wouldn't do that ever. This is the way I fish. So basically, I guess the point is, what I got, another point, there's no wrong way. It's just whatever you're comfortable with.
So,
why is John John so gay? Victor Chavez.
I was in the military with him. By the way, it's a great shout out to Victor. You're a great guy.
Sitting there looking gay.
I love you to death. So I'll give you a shout out on YouTube.
Look at him just sitting there.
Victor did a ton of deployments. The guy that's just messaged us in right now, this dude Victor Chavez, is a good dude. He been on a bunch of deployments with him and stuff like that. Ran the streets really hard with this dude. So thanks for writing in, Victor. You're a swell friend.
By the way, I don't know why this just dawned on me. Clayton Bates was my brother's boater at Lake Lanier last year on the BFL. He said he is an awesome dude.
Straight up dude.
Yeah, said he is.
I don't know how he fish. I don't know how he did it on Lanier, but he's a straight up dude.
I don't think he did great.
You suckers. That's my dude. Take care of him. He's in safe hands, Vic. I promise you. Dude, you're blowing up my... Oh, who's this? I thought there was only one ginger in your life, Johnny.
Now he's talking about Levi. That's another one.
That was Levi.
That was Levi.
Oh, really? So the guys that are on now are guys that they're all 10th Mountain. Really would like to get these guys fishing.
Yeah, bring them out. March 21st.
Levi's a orthopedic PA down in Fort Lauderdale and not real close to the Everglades. So if you ever want to fish freshwater, go down. We can stay with him. We can fish the freshwater in the Everglades. I grew up fishing the Everglades and stuff like that. So it's a great place to go. And then Victor actually still lives up close to Fort Drum, New York, which is like Syracuse area. Okay. He's a school teacher. Basketball coach, and I'd like to get those guys on the water. I'm glad they tuned in tonight to show their support.
Make sure you guys go to wakeforwarriors.org. You'll see our event calendar, and the Harding event should be up pretty soon, and you can register that. I encourage you to follow us on social media as well, Fishing for Warriors on Instagram, and you can keep track of us as well.
Yeah, it'd be great. So go ahead, man. We were talking about some fishing stuff before these guys got in there.
Yeah, so my brother fished with Clayton Bates, and he said he's an awesome dude. Hell of a fisherman. Like they were around him all day. And my brother lost a couple big ones that would have helped him, but I think Clayton did pretty good. I know down at the regional, he was top 10. And my brother said he's a stand-up dude. Yeah, so he's great to fish with. Great to have as a boater. You know, really wanted my brother to be catching fish all day long.
The one thing today that when you and I broke out in that session that we went to, the one thing that I didn't know is how huge kayak fishing has
it's gotten big, dude.
Like kayak fishing's like taking off. You know, like FLW sponsors kayak series.
Bassmasters got a series starting this year. For kayak fishing, an open series for kayak fishing this year.
So and the biggest thing is if you guys didn't know like kayak how big kayak fishing's got. Obviously, when you have a big motor on the back of a bass boat, you can shoot up and down, a 200, 300 acre lake. You know, wherever you want to go, or 2,000 acres, 3,000 acre lake, you can smoke all the way around it. But if you take
it's a little bitty lake.
You take a kayak or whatever. What I mean to say?
Probably 200,000 acres.
That's 200,000 acres. Yeah, I'm going 200,000 acre lake. You can smoke all over the place, but you take a kayak and say, hey, we're going to go do a kayak fishing tournament on a 200,000 acre lake. You know, I didn't know that these guys can take their kayak out of the water, put it in their truck, drive around,
you go to a different ramp,
and put it back in and keep fishing. Like, to hear the stories was like, I was like, dude, that shit, like, you literally have to sit and go like, oh, okay, like, I don't know if this area is not good. Like, for us, we go, this area's not good. We crank the motor up and shoot to another area. This area's not hitting.
Think about how big of a commitment it is, though, as a kayak angler, to load up and go to a different spot. Because first of all, you've got to get back to your original ramp.
You got to unload
everything. Then you've got to load your kayak, get it to the other ramp, take the time to drive to the other ramp, unload it, and then get to your next spot.
That's what I was about to say. Hope there's no traffic around the lane. Hope somebody's not doing this or
you don't have a flat tire.
I mean, so we
you're screwed on the way in if you do anyway.
Yeah. So the one thing that we learned today, or one thing that I took from them that I'm going to take into this next tournament season is the big thing is checking out like Google Earth. Really going into Google Earth.
Everybody touched on Google Earth.
Everybody touched on Google Earth. So I think that's a big thing for if you're fishing this season and stuff like that, and you're looking into your next lake and where you're going and what you're doing, Google Earth is the way to go. You know, look at Google Earth. One thing that I lost, what's her name?
Christine.
One thing Christine said today was, take Google Earth and go back to 1984.
Well, that was if you've got to subscribe to the Google Earth Pro,
Right.
and you can go back and look at the history of each lake and like all of the satellite images they've taken.
She goes,
see how it's changed. If they've drawn it down, you can see like structure that's underwater. You can see it exposed. Like she said, one lake that they went to, they completely drained in like 1980, and so she went back on Google Earth Pro to 1980 and looked at the whole lake completely drained. And she, you know, you can see everything. Obviously, there's some new stuff. A couple of things have changed, but there's stuff that you're going to find that nobody else is finding because you're seeing it without water on it.
Wow.
So that was a big thing. That's one thing that I took out of there. The app, I got that app out of there.
Talking about the lunar. I've never paid much attention to the lunar phases.
What they were saying was that lunar app, every time that the fish are really banging off, it's in that mid and
in their feeding windows.
Yeah,
they're pretty accurate. And like I pay attention to the lunar schedule when I deer hunt. And if I'm saltwater fishing, the lunar schedule affects the tides. They brought up a good point. If it affects the tides, why would it not affect freshwater fish? And I never really thought about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I think that's a big one.
Yeah, I'd like to, get on here and do a podcast just on lunar and what to look for, and
that's a big one because they talked. I would have to say they probably went 20, 30 minutes on that. Probably 20 minutes on like that lunar. Just hey, this is if you think about anything, yes, structure is big. You always want structure. You want this. You want that. Go back and look at the Google Pro if you can get that. There was nowhere she said you needed to go do that. She just said it helps to go back.
That's what she does.
Yeah, that's what she does, and I like it. I think it's great because you can find a lake that's been drained in 1988, and you can see the structure that's on the ground and filled back up. 99.9% chance that stuff is still the same. They just flood it right back over. Right. Everything's there,
But and of course there's new stuff there too.
Right.
People are always going out creating new brush piles. The current effects can affect the way, it can change the bottom structure a little bit from erosion, but it's not going to change that much.
Which we did see a few Christmas trees in the back of trucks in the parking lots today.
Yes, we did.
And we're hoping they were headed to lakes.
So I'm sure they're going to the lake with their Christmas trees.
Victor, we're working on growing our social media.
Yeah.
You guys need to post more. Grow your social media by posting more.
It's great content.
It's great content.
We're working on that.
Yeah, we're trying.
We're all trying to grow our own personal social medias.
I just started this YouTube like 2 days ago.
Yeah. And we're trying to grow the Fishing for Warriors.
Yeah, the Fishing for Warriors and our personal brands and social media. So we're, baby steps.
So the big thing is I feel like, like we were starting off just going to just take a shot in the dark and see what we can do here. Just, haven't named it yet, what our podcast or what this YouTube live is yet. Haven't named anything yet. Haven't really set anything in stone. Had a bunch of good ideas on what the name should be.
We could put it up for debate.
Yeah,
we could. We absolutely could.
If you think that you guys can come up with something cool,